Hey there, aspiring guitarists. Today we're going to do a combination of chord practice and ear training. It's really, in my view, it's never too early to start ear training. Um, Not only is it going to get you to a point where you may later after practice, or real soon, it depends on you and your ear and other things. Um, may actually be able to listen to a song. No, first of all, you got to recognize, oh, that's a guitar chord. That's a big step when you can do that. You may blow that off, or may think you've never even thought about that. But as far as ear training goes, that's a big deal. So what we're going to talk about today is dissecting a chord, and I'm not talking about we know a chord's three notes. I'm not talking about the first, the third, and the fifth, and breaking it down in music theory or applying it to a scale or even what forms the chord. I'm talking about taking, and we're going to do cowboy chords today, which are open chords. And open chords just simply mean that when you strum the chord, one of those strings isn't fretted. It's an open string. And you should also tie that back to chord diagrams, seeing where an X is. But you should also tie that to experimentation. And I'm going to cover just a little bit of that today with just some basic chords. Today I'm playing on my Larrivee Legacy 40 Rosewood. And I got to tell you, as somebody from the deep south, took me a while to even realize Larrivee existed. They are great guitars. Their history begins in Canada. Look into it. And now they make guitars in the U.S. And they are solid tone guitars. They're fantastic. Sadly, here in the deep south, we don't get to see a lot of them unless it's a used one. I bought this from a buddy of mine that I trust explicitly with acoustic guitars. Lawton Higgs Jr. He and I go way back. He always talked about the balance of a Larrivee, and I certainly think he was right. It's something I thoroughly enjoy. So anyway, I'm not going to go into all the details. It's a Larrivee. They come with different headstocks and on the series and things like that. But it's a joy to play, and it feels a little different from a bigger, guitar than some other ones. And when I say bigger, I'm mostly referring to dreadnoughts. I love a dreadnought, but they do not love me anymore. I'm trying so hard. In fact, you see that hummingbird right there? Let me get there. That hummingbird. That guitar plays so good. Sounds so good. That's one of the newer releases. It's a Hummingbird Studio Rosewood. But I'm gonna have to get rid of it. I mean, I just can't. I can't do it anymore. And I generally do better with a square shoulder dreadnought than a rounded. I love a J45. I love the way they play. I love the way they sound. For some reason, for my body, that they hurt me to play them now after years of osteoarthritis and things like that. And yeah, I do the shoulder moves and and all the things you can do, and that's not what this is about. I'm just describing the guitar I'm playing. But anyway, this guitar is balanced to me, and the bass side doesn't override the top side, the treble side. It's got a balance. You certainly get enough bass, you certainly get enough treble. Whereas some guitars, and I'll leave that to you and your own subjective thoughts, are more dominant on one than the other. But anyway, here's just an E chord. This is not about learning how to make an E chord. You know, that's an open E chord. Lift up that finger and you've turned it into an E minor, which you'll see that repeating in a lot of things, is just moving one finger changes a chord from a major to a minor. And you know, and I'm not going into all the theory that the minor becomes a flatted third, blah blah, and all that. No. This is about just practicing your chord. Let that sound sink in. That's an E. Now you can play different guitars. I can grab some of my Martins. You'll get a Martin sound. I can grab my Taylor Builder's Edition. You'll get that Taylor sound. Probably shouldn't have said that. You'll get the Taylor sound of the mahogany guitar I have. Taylor, like many manufacturers, use many different tone woods. And that's good. You get choices. But anyway, learn what an E chord sounds like. Now I'm going to ask you to do something else. Play the this is something you're going to have to get in your brain. I could say the bottom three strings, or I could say the lower three strings, and depending on what you see happening, could mess you up. Lower by pitch, higher. But now I want you to take this E chord. You've played it by strumming all 6 strings, starting with the low E or the 6th string, and you've strummed downward. Why did I wait so long before I said anything? This is just one of many steps we're fixing to do. Learn what the chord sounds like at the beginning and while it's ringing out. Because sometimes you're going to hear a chord start a song and you're going to hear a chord end the song. Same chord. Many times it'll be something different, but many times it'll be the same chord. Pay attention to that, because we remember the beginning and the end to many things. Sometimes the middle, we love the middle, you know, that's the journey, but we pay a lot of attention to the beginning and the end of something. So anyway, I'm strumming the chord. Throw away in your ear the bump. Hear them both right then. The beginning of it and the end of it. The sustain. Now I want you to break that up. We're going to do the 6-5-4 string E A D string. 6-5-4 E A D. Now play the 3-2-1. 3-2-1. G B E 3 2 1. Now do them both separately. Now do them separately with only a tiny pause. Now go the other way. Now, pay attention to the chord. Okay, I got an E. What is the lowest string that is fretted? And that's going to be the A string or the 5th string. How do I back that up? Because I see it right there. The one above it's not fretted at all. It's open. So, look at the chord. Now, start from there and strum 3 notes. That's the chord. Remember, chord's 3 notes. Sometimes they'll all be next to each other, like an A. Remember, here's an A. You can bar chord doing on the 2nd fret. You can do the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, fourth, third, and second. You can make it all kind of ways, but that's your chord, just those three notes. If you use other notes, you're just repeating those notes or a note within the scale. So here we go back to the E. Just three. Okay, now do the three and then finish. Do the top again, or the low, 6, 5, 4, and then finish. Okay, now go back to what we said a minute ago. What's 6, 5? The fifth string. So now take that fifth string, and it's fretted up here in the second fret, and watch. Hammer it. It doesn't matter if you start it open and come down, or you hammer off. Okay, let's take this E chord now, and let's just go to A minor, which is just picking up the shape and going down one string. Okay? And let's do the same thing. Just the three fretted strings. Now I add the open bottom. Okay, now what is the lowest pitch or the highest number string that's fretted? Well, it's right here on the fourth. Just repeating what you did with the A. You are picking that chord apart to listen to how it sounds with two strings, three strings. At least three strings is the chord. But even so, you know, here's A minor. Can I get anything that's fretted with just the E, B, or the 1, 2 strings? Sure can. Now let's lift up the only fretted of the 1 and 2 string, which is over here, my index finger. Let's get it out of the way. When you do this with chords, you can do it with a D chord. Remember, the D chord only uses the E, B, G, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th string, or the D string, is open. So the chord's right here, but this is also the chord. You're just repeating a note. Just do 2. Now let's take the 3rd string, or the G string, and let's hammer on and off it while we do it. Now let's go the other way. Let's go down here to the 1st string. I'm just lifting it up and down. But I've done this now with 3 chords. Keep doing, even the G chord, which is Really stretching out the fingers used. What does that tell me? I've got a thud sound. Well, that tells me I don't have my finger up here on the G note on the sixth string out of the way of the note below it. I am thudding the fifth string. I'm muting partially the fifth string. I need to do better. I need to do a more technique and form. I need to straighten my thumb. I need to curve my fingers, to where they're not muting out. Doesn't that sound a lot better? All right, and then let's get the whole chord. We have learned so many different things from this chord practice of trying to listen. Now let's go back to what I first talked about. As you're doing all these things, playing 2 strings, playing 3 strings, playing strings 1 and 2, playing strings 3 and 4, playing strings 5 and 6, listen. And then listen to the whole chord. Listen to part of the chord. Do you know what a G chord sounds like? Can you spot a G chord in a song? E chord. So you went from bong, 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 bong. Even if you're not hitting it right by humming it or saying it, notice there's a difference. And then take some of that chord practice. You got to practice the shapes anyway. Think of all the things you're going to learn if you will just extend that practice to listening. And listening to different, one of the first epiphanies somebody learns when they play the guitar is you don't have to always hit all 6 strings. In fact, there are some chords you're not supposed to. You would change the structure of the chord. You would add a note that takes it to another chord, to a different chord. So, hey, this is something, always involve your ear. Always, from listening on the radio to a song where you can actually hear the guitar. That's another thing. Learn to hear the guitar. If you've got a drummer, and I'm not saying that it's inappropriate, but there are some songs where the drum, especially at the beginning sometimes, the drum is going to be the most prominent, recognizable sound heard very often in a song. Now, I realize that changes. Of course it does. But even with, sometimes the drummer gives the first beat. You'll see him, 1, 2, 3, boom. But sometimes he'll hit the first beat and a guitarist will too. Do you hear that guitar? He's going to be a little drowned by the drum most often, not always. Learn to find the instrument you're playing in a song. Well, that's certainly easy to do. The only thing the singer, songwriter, singer, guitarist is only playing a guitar. But learn to listen. Learn to listen. And while you're listening, enjoy the beauty of the chord. Especially the beginning, the end, the sustain, which often starts, ends the song. Now, sustain is most often at the end, but there are many songs that put a sustaining chord at the very beginning. Sometimes it'll be all by itself, and then it'll follow into some rhythm. So learn to listen when you're doing your chord practice. And hey, that'll help your guitar journey. I hope your guitar journey is blessed. And like I always say, and I mean it,